knows, but he forgot.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us today, Thursday, February 13th, 2025, broadcasting to you live from the Orion Spiral Arm of the Milky Way Galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, somewhere in between two formerly tariffed nations. My name's Brian Engelman. That is Mike Bara, and this is Jim Mitchell. And we're here on Strictly Football, having a good time talking about football. The season is over. We've done 23 episodes of this awesome new program this year. Mike, how does that make you feel? We rocked the whole season. We got through the Super Bowl.
I had no idea it was that much, but that's really cool. We got that many episodes. And well, it's just fun to talk about football. You know, I kind of let my Seahawks stuff go by the wayside because I was doing so many pods in a given week. But, it's been fun. It's fun to bounce ideas off people and have in-depth discussions about my favorite sport. And it's a nice distraction from the very, very serious stuff that I talk about all the time. So
agreed. Where do people follow you for the other serious stuff? Not on today's show, but where do they check out? What are the other programs?
At Mike Bara 333 on Twitter X and MikeBara.blogspot.com for all the serious political stuff you don't want to talk about on a football show.
Yes. I like to joke about that. Like, yes, there are obviously more important matters in life than sports. And sports is supposed to be my pleasant distraction from those things. But as a Cleveland sports fan, it's almost more frustrating following the Cleveland teams instead of politics. It's almost more.
You'd rather watch a nuclear war than
watch the
Browns on a given Sunday, right?
That's exactly how I feel. Very similar.
Yeah,
very similar. Jim, who is your favorite team? You're out there in Vegas, but he's a Seahawks fan.
I've been following the Seahawks since '76.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you're both Hawks fans. Gotcha.
Yeah. It's a little odd, but we are.
Well,
I go over to his place to watch a game, and and he's got his Seahawks gear on, so
Yeah,
Matt Hasselbeck guy right there.
Nice. Well, look, the Super Bowl's in the books, and Mike's a Seahawks fan. I'm a Browns fan. We've discussed. Well, Jim as well, a Seahawks fan. But for 1 week, it's all about two teams, and we got through the Super Bowl. There's a lot to unpack there, from the entertainment aspect of halftime to who got booed and who got cheered, and really the game on the field. So I guess maybe let's start with the game. I was kind of predicting that the Eagles were going to win. I did say the Eagles were going to win. I got that one right, and that took me to 154 and 131 on the season with my projections. Actually, let me just pull it up. We'll do this. Year in review. There it is. I did pick the Eagles, and I was correct on that. And I kind of expected them to blow the brakes off of them. I said it sort of, but that was me on the season. 154, 131. It was a 1-point spread, 1.5-point spread. And look, the Eagles took them to town, starting with you, Mike. What did you make of the strong start that we saw out of the Eagles? Because to me, it reminded me of how strong the Buckeyes started in every playoff game that mattered this season. They just, by halftime, it was over, and you just leaned on them till you put them out of their misery.
Well, you knew with the best defense in the NFL when they were up, 24-0 at halftime, that the game was over. It reminded me of the Seahawks-Broncos Super Bowl, our glorious moment, Super Bowl 48, where you just, you knew the game was over.
Right.
By the time they got to halftime, which was fine with me. I was surprised at how good the Eagles were offensively, because remember, the Chiefs had a top 5 defense this year. That's one of the reasons that they got to the Super Bowl. So I was surprised at how the Eagles actually were able to manhandle them and kind of move the ball at will, and how good Jalen Hurts were, well-deserving NFL Super Bowl MVP, man. He deserved it. He led that team. He put up 300 yards of offense. He put up 21 points, 2 touchdown passes, and the touchdown run. He had the 1 interception, which ruined a one drive. Might have been a scoring drive. I think there were definitely across 50 at that point. So he had the one mistake, but I think put himself into the elite quarterback category. Absolutely. Top 10, top 5 guy in the league. And he can make plays so many different ways. And was just a much better runner, for instance, than Mahomes is. Mahomes is a bit more of a scrambler. This guy can really run, and very impressed with how they move. And if it wasn't for that ridiculous offensive pass interference penalty, they would have had at least 3 more points before halftime. So we all kind of saw that and thought, here we go again, but didn't turn out that way. And I just was really impressed with the pure physical dominance of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, I was starting to scream on Twitter. I'm like, oh, the hand did touch the face mask, but come on, like that was not an egregious one that you should throw a flag on.
Well, look, the receiver and the defender, they're going to grapple a little bit. That's part of the game. There's no penalty in that on either side. If it had been called defensive pass interference, it would have been just as big a BS call as the OPI was. But we all thought, here we go.
Yeah.
But I want to throw it back. I want to throw it back to you guys, because Shannon Sharp, Jim's neighbor, Shannon Sharp, who lives within sight of Jim's house, actually.
Oh, this is cool. Here we go.
He's got a place in Vegas. He came out and said, and he just put up an interesting theory. He said, everybody knows the game was rigged. Everybody knows the game was scripted, but they couldn't do it because there was so much attention on the referees in the week leading up to the game that they pulled the plug on that and just let the game play out. Maybe the guy, the ref who called the OPI didn't get the memo, but Jim, let's start. What do you think of that? Not to take over your show, Brian, but Jim,
no, it's our show. And yes, we're throwing it to Jim anyway. What do you
about that theory?
What say you?
Shannon actually said that?
He said it. Yeah, I'm digging it up. I can't really find it, but I saw a quote the other day. Yeah,
that's really odd. Even if there is an element of truth of that, I would think, last I checked, Shannon's a Hall of Famer, is he not?
He is, but the thing is, he doesn't work directly for the NFL anymore. Remember, the NFL has a say over who broadcasts. Like, if he worked for Fox like he used to, or if he worked for CBS like he used to, there could be repercussions. But he's now independent. He's left Fox Sports.
Yeah, he had that.
He can say anything he wants now. Anyway, go ahead.
He had that split with Skip Bayless, and that was a tearful parting, even though it was probably amicable between both of them.
Yeah, and Joy Taylor, she won the NFL Come On My Back Award of the year.
Oh, Mike, come on, Joy's all right.
But
I don't know. I'll have to walk across the street and ask my neighbor that. I mean, Shannon lives across the street from me now, so
yeah.
I typed in Shannon Sharp rigged, and I'm seeing the disturbing lawsuit. You got Joy Taylor there spilling out. The Jason Whitlock saying Shannon Sharp is trying to beat gay allegations.
Yeah.
So he baited the country with an alleged encounter with a lady, Michelle, aka Shelley. I don't see anything where he said that the game was rigged.
I did see it, and it's one of those things where I'd have to go back and watch video to actually see it. But I did actually absolutely see the quote.
But look, 2024, and of course we're now the first month into 2025, but too big to rig. A lot of people claimed things in 2020 in the political election. In 2024, they said, well, you got to be too big to rig. Like in the NFL, you got to beat the Chiefs and the referees. And if the attention is overwhelming and everybody's eyes are on it, does that actually cause them to peel back and go, even we can't get away with a few of them this time? So what say you, Jim? What role did the referees play, do you think? If any, do you think they would have liked to cheat for the Chiefs, or are you more kind of neutral on it?
Well, there looked like there was a little bit of home cooking. In fact, Mike made that comment during the first quarter. Mike said, "Oh, here they go again. Here's the refs," and
sure looked like it.
Yeah, and the offensive pass interference. Oh, come on.
It kind of got toned down a little bit, as the game went on. There wasn't. The thing that impressed or didn't impress me about the game was the fact that Barkley, they were kind of dinking and dunking with Barkley, and it looked like they were double, triple teaming him. He wasn't getting a lot of yards in even the first half. He wasn't a big factor, and I think they probably got myopic, towards Barkley, just focusing on what he was doing, and the game got away from him. But as far as the referees seemed a little partial in the first quarter of the game. I kind of got that impression, and Mike did too, jumping up and down on the couch, and just getting upset with the Zebra.
I lay on your couch, buddy. I kick back. I kick back with my legs.
He does. Well, your brother falls asleep.
Wife cooks us pizza. So
Yeah, Dave fell asleep, so
yeah. Well, Dave always falls asleep at that time of day, Jim. But anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
but that's I don't think the refs were a real big factor in the second half. They were a little prevalent in the first half. So
Yeah, I mean, it was such an ass whooping. There wasn't a lot to lie about. Like, yes, you can have phantom holding calls on the offensive line, but something, Mike, that you brought up about Jalen Hurts and his running ability. Yeah, you see Patrick Mahomes, he's like a lateral. He'll go side to side. He does a lot of twisting, spinning, left to right, maybe a little up, little back, but it's a lot of left to right and then trying to chuck it across his body 40 yards downfield. But Jalen Hurts, he'll do the drop back 1,000, 1,000. At about 3.5 to 4, he takes off. And he had at least two, maybe even three 10+ yard running plays on third down to extend drives that could have swung the game. But Jalen got that running first down, and that completely removed the momentum shift. Like, that cannot be overstated, how he was able to pick those perfect moments where nobody was sitting there spying on him, and he took advantage. They were busy, and to Jim's point, they were probably busy spying on Saquon, and they shifted the linebacker watching Saquon coming out of the backfield, which left it open for Jalen Hurts. I was really hoping to see Saquon. I think it was his birthday, right, on the Super Bowl. I really wanted him to get a touchdown, but I'll let him get the Super Bowl win. I'm sure he's just as happy. But I bet you that played a role in it.
It was Cooper DeJean's birthday. I know that they had a birthday cake out there. There was another one too. It may have been Saquon.
Oh, and that may have been what Mahomes did for Cooper DeJean. He gave him a birthday present there by throwing the ball right into his hands. But
damn big of him.
The thing is, you're right. Mahomes runs around laterally behind the line of scrimmage to try to make a play downfield, whereas Hurts takes off and takes the yards that are there. Mahomes doesn't do that. Unless he absolutely has to.
Yeah. And I think it made a difference. You're right. I mean, if you look at the rushing numbers, they shut Saquon down. The Chiefs did a good job of preventing Saquon from putting up 180 yards and 2 touchdowns. But look, it just opened up the rest of the field for everybody else to feast. And I guess it's kind of a question. Were the Eagles that good, or were the Chiefs that overrated? I saw Travis Kelce out there, and I was just thinking, like, what's the opposite of Taylor Swift? I'm like, Swift. The opposite of Swift is kind of Jason Kelce at this stage, Travis Kelce at this stage of his career. He looked slow. He looked ineffective. I don't know if he's going to retire. They keep saying you might retire.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, his father time caught up to the Chiefs, or are the Eagles that good? What do you guys say?
There's one play where somebody focused in on Kelce. I saw a video of this on one play where Mahomes is running all over the place, and Kelce literally just stands there at the 50-yard line. He doesn't try to run or get open, or he just stands there and watches him like he just didn't even care about the game. And, maybe he's thinking, oh my God, I have to go home to Taylor Swift, and if we lose this game, I'm so dead. I don't know. I think he was worried about his Illuminati masters or something. He just didn't do anything.
Greg Cosell made a comment yesterday on Colin's program that Colin has Greg Cosell on once a week, and he made the comment that Kelce was pretty much non-existent as far as one of his tight end duties, and that is a blocker. I mean, he wasn't blocking a lot in that game, and Kelce or Cosell showed several clips of him not blocking and basically, falling down, when he should have been blocking, even though he wasn't going to be targeted by Mahomes or he wasn't a primary target on the play. But Cosell showed several clips showing that. So he just played like he was out of gas.
Yeah, it's interesting because he did play like he was out of gas, which you would think with 2 weeks to get ready, he would have been in shape. He would have been ready to go. You just got to wonder if he's not just finished. And don't forget to remember earlier this year, guys, he was screaming at Andy Reid on the sideline.
Oh yeah.
Maybe there's some problem there that we don't know about. Or maybe the vaccines have just hit Mr. Pfizer hard.
Yeah, if that weren't the Super Bowl last year when he did that, I could see Andy having him ride the bench the rest of the game.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, he would basically butler the guy like Belichick did.
Mm.
After the Seahawks Super Bowl,
Yeah.
he benched him, and the team was up in arms, and I think they ended up losing the game.
Yep.
Yeah, so something I haven't told you guys about, but I've started stand-up comedy now. I've done 5 different sets. I'm working on it. And I had a joke this week about, it was interesting, the reaction the crowd had, just people watching. There was a lot of Taylor hate, kind of maybe surprising for a football game. But then when you saw Travis Kelce walk into the stadium looking like an extra from Starsky and Hutch, you do kind of start to hate the Taylor that made that suit for Travis Kelce. When you start to go super Hollywood, you're putting too much energy into like, now I'm wearing these fancy 1970s shades and
if you're a white guy dressing like Cam Newton, it's just
the only thing he was missing was the ivory-headed cane. I mean, he was like Huggy Bear walking down the corridor.
Exactly. But the Taylor hate was interesting. Let's talk about this component. I mean,
it's funny there were. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, there were people trying to claim on my Twitter that the cheers for Trump were piped in by Fox. First of all, Fox Sports and Fox News aren't even the same company. They're completely different companies. They're not owned by the same people. There's no conservative connection with Fox Sports, who has, the aforementioned evil liberal crap like Joy Taylor on their network. They're a very left wing. The NFL Come on My Back Player of the Year winner. They're very liberal, right? And so then my question to them is this: we all know the boos for Taylor Swift were real. So wouldn't the same people that would boo Taylor Swift, who demonized Donald Trump and didn't vote for him, wouldn't that mean or prove out that the same people would have been cheering when Donald Trump was shown on the big screen? So, God, it's just certain people just are sorry, I got political.
Hey, look, it's all good. But look, this is part of the storyline. Let's take a look at the Caesars Superdome here. It really does move. Looking left, looking right, like, what is going on? Why am I getting booed? And then the next one. I guess this is just Trump story. Maybe I'll have to find a separate one. Where's the one where Trump gets announced? I'm not finding the video really quick, but yeah, it was kind of a interesting dichotomy there. Yeah. You had, look, and Taylor Swift has been rumored. I think there was somebody from USAID that was saying, someone like Taylor Swift would be great to have on our team pushing our agendas, blah, blah, blah. Like that came out 6 months ago, 9 months ago.
I've got the video here.
Right here, let's pop you up.
Jones comes over to shake his hand. Anyway, that's one.
Well, and that's one version of it. This is the one I was thinking of here. Oh, okay. That was one from like someone holding the camera when he walked out before, but this is actually when they showed him on the Jumbotron during the game. During the time I didn't love this rendition much, but listen to the crowd. Right here. I mean, that was the crowd legitimately cheering right there. Yeah, like that was a legitimate sign of appreciation. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, sports and politics have merged. There is no real unscrambling of the eggs. But you know what shocked me? I think in the 59 Super Bowls we've done now? Is that 59 to have the number right?
That's what licks means, Brian.
Yeah, I've never learned Latin. I got a igpe attenlay. I got a uddy stay the igpe attenlay. In 59 years, a sitting president's never attended a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
that's free money. That is free money sitting there on the table. Scott Adams talks about that all the time. Trump's ability is to find an issue that's obvious. He picks it. Oh, free money. How do you not attend a Super Bowl? Like that's Everybody wants to.
No, because I mean, most politicians are afraid they'll be booed. I mean, what would happen if "Let's Go Brandon" rang out when Joe Biden? Joe Biden's not going to show up, and that would have happened because he wasn't elected. It's like
Let's go, Brandon.
You're right, but it's
Yeah,
a big risk. It's a risk.
I would have never taken that bet. I mean, I can't believe that a sitting president has never attended a Super Bowl. I mean, in the 60s and 70s, they used to make the phone call. Richard Nixon would call the
Locker room,
the coach of the Redskins, congratulating them.
Yeah. So
No, that's true. They get that phone call, and then we're going to Disney World. They were like, you get the presidential phone call, but this is like in person. I think Trump was rooting for the Chiefs. They said, I don't know if he was really strong.
He talked about Mahomes, and Brittany Mahomes is a Trump supporter, and he said, he's a great guy, he's a nice quarterback. I'm rooting for them a little bit. Which surprises me because Pennsylvania is a swing state. So I would have definitely, he didn't say, I'm definitely one side or the other, but he did say, he's a nice guy, and I hope, be nice if he made history, that kind of thing.
Well, you're talking about nice guys, and you're talking about Mahomes. This was another odd storyline that came out of the Super Bowl. Did you guys happen to see this? Pat Mahomes Sr., I think this is on the streets of New Orleans. Patrick Mahomes Sr. has an interaction with somebody he used to play baseball with back in the late 90s.
Is this real? Is this really real?
Look, let me just press play and I'll show you one more thing. Allegedly, this is Pat Mahomes' dad. When John Rocker walks up and it's like, hey, Pat. And then Pat goes off on him and starts trying to pick a fight. And he's like, oh, really? That's what we're going to do? So here, let's just take a look. Oh shit. Oh shit.
Hold me back.
I did not have that on my bingo card.
No, not me either. That's hilarious.
Is that supposed to be John Rocker, Brian?
Well, look, let me scroll up one more. Here's John Rocker from the John Rocker post from 22 hours ago. He says, day one of training complete. He says, Pat Mahomes Sr. will wish he had never fucked with me after April 18th. And to Mahomes Jr.'s team trying to cancel this fight, stay out of my fucking way.
Wow.
Yeah.
So was
like
this for like a Jake Paul, Mike Tyson thing? Are they going to be?
They got to be looking. Yeah, they got to be looking at all the money those guys made. So maybe they were just setting up a fake confrontation to start a fight.
Well, Rocker never was, shy of putting out his racial politics, was he?
No, I mean, but one of his big complaints was, dude, the New York subway system's a mess. Okay, we just watched a woman get burned to death. We watched other people get pushed in front of trains. All the crime on there. It's like. He really got destroyed for saying New York City subways are a real disaster. They sort of are. He might have been a little more colorful, but he was the topic bore out in his favor. The subways are a mess. I didn't see that one coming. I had no idea. It was shared a couple days ago. I go, this can't be real. I had the same reaction you had. It's like, wait a minute, is that really these guys? They have an old beef from the days when he was a pitcher on the Twins and stuff, I suppose.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay. So, I mean, we've covered the Super Bowl. Were there any other angles? Commercials, halftime show.
Well,
commercials and halftime.
Before we get there, there's one other thing I want to make. I'm going to see if you guys disagree with me. I've always felt like Mahomes didn't handle pressure very well. That he actually, when you pressure him, he's ordinary. And to give you an example, my guy Russell Wilson, he's been under pressure his entire career, and he handles it. Doesn't bother him. He handles it. You might sack him, but you have to sack him. The pressure is not going to make him play bad. Whereas Mahomes, when he gets pressured, which he's not used to, he's very ordinary and he makes a lot of mistakes. And this is the second time now, the Tampa Bay Super Bowl being another example where when you're able to get pressure on him, he kind of falls apart. And I think that's maybe a growing thing. The anointing him as the GOAT, we may have to put a little bit of just pump the brakes on that a little bit, because the great ones handle pressure, and I don't feel like he handles pressure very well. I was just wondering if anybody else made that observation or maybe doesn't even agree with me.
Jim, what say you?
There's one other thing I wanted to bring up about statistics about the Super Bowl. I don't know if you guys are familiar with takeaway ratios. Basically, it's a ratio involving quarterbacks throwing interceptions or fumbles that are given up. In other words, the Eagles, during the regular season, the Eagles had a takeaway ratio of plus 11, which means if a fumble had occurred and they recovered their own fumble, then that would be a 0. But if the other team fumbled the ball or threw an interception, it would be a plus 1.
Right.
That goes to their team. And
Mike
knows.
Before you move past that point, if you can just, I don't want to take you off your train of thought, but in basketball, coaches call those 50-50 balls. The ball's in nobody's possession. It's on the ground. Who gets those 50-50 balls? And at the end, those kind of balance out. Is that similar to what because you're saying if you lose your own fumble, it doesn't really count. You get it back, you're 0. It's no net gain. But if it's lost by the other team, you get a plus 1 by taking away the other team's possession there.
Right. I know what you're talking about. And Mike probably knows this statistic also. The one that holds the record for recovering their own fumbles or recovering their own passes is Dave Craig from the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah.
He holds that record. But again, getting back to the turnover ratio, the Eagles had a plus 11 during the regular season. The Chiefs had a plus 6. During the postseason, the Eagles had a plus 12 ratio, and the Chiefs had a minus 3.
Wow.
You usually don't win games when you lose the turnover battle.
Yeah.
Figuring into the postseason. So
wow.
The Chiefs kind of went in the tank as far as the turnover ratio after week 18.
Yeah.
Even though they had the bye week after that. But do you want to guess who had the worst turnover ratio in the regular season?
Geno Smith.
Yeah, the Cleveland Browns. I guess that's probably pretty obvious.
Winner, Pollo dinner right there.
Yeah.
Minus 22.
Winner TV dinner.
Woo.
Minus 22. That's abysmal.
It felt like it. It felt like it. Even when Jameis was thrown for 500 yards, he was throwing 3 interceptions also.
Yeah, that's an interesting stat, Jim. I pay more attention to something called toxic differential, which was a Brian Billick stat that he created with the Ravens back in 2000, which is explosive plays on offense, explosive plays on defense. How many? That's runs of 17 yards, passes of 20 yards or more, fumbles and interceptions and touchdowns. And so, in other words, it basically charts explosive plays and momentum changing plays. And again, the I could go look it up right now. In fact, I will. But that's a stat I pay a little more attention to because I think it really is indicative of who's playing well and who's not playing well. And I'll be shocked if the Eagles are not at the top of that one as well. Because
Brian Billick, who coached the Trent Dilfer Super Bowl.
That's right. So he came up with that one, and not anybody. People, they talk about all these stupid metrics like, throwing guys open. Okay, that's just somebody's opinion, whether or not a guy got thrown open by the quarterback or whether that's nothing.
Well, but they also do opinion-based stats, like if they were catchable passes or if they were not catchable passes.
Estimated yards per play, EPA, and I'm like, what the? You don't have any idea what would have happened if the guy had caught the ball, or those are nonsense.
And there's yards after the catch, but that's something very quantifiable. Catch it at 37 and you take it.
That's a real stat, and they call these things metrics. I'm like, it's not a metric if it's your opinion that the guy should have caught it anyway, or what a pressure is. What's a pressure? It's whatever somebody watching the film decides is a pressure.
Well, they didn't even start counting the sack until what year was that? Was that in the
1984, 1983 or 84? Because there's a great Seahawks defensive end. You'll remember him, Jacob Green. He's credited with 84 career sacks, and he had at least 30 or 40 the first 5 years before that, and he never counted any of them. And honestly, I wish I'd go back to NFL films and go back and look at these great guys like Deacon Jones and stuff.
Yeah, I was just going to say
give them credit for real.
Yeah, if you want, that was always the argument. David Deacon Jones is probably the sack leader, but they didn't
Yeah.
keep stats back then.
Yeah, but they have the game film. They have the game film, so go back and look at it.
Well, you know how Major League Baseball went back and they added the Negro League stats, and it's like, well, sometimes they were playing professional talent, sometimes they had inaccurate stats, but they decided to do a deep dive and add those as statistics. But do they really count? Do you have a new hits leader? It is interesting, though. I played defensive end, and I love the sack as a metric. It's not the only thing that counts. Myles Garrett, if you grade, what is that stat called? It's something like winning a pass rate or pass rush rate or something. Myles, whether he gets the sacks or the tackles or not, he's beating his guy and he's not getting beat, and he grades up at the top of PFF every time.
It's a very important stat. I mean, it's extremely important, especially when handicapping football. Mm-hmm. I mean, and a lot of those sacks work into what we had just discussed, the turnover ratios. I mean, it's a very important stat. I got to kill this light, guys. My eye's killing me here.
Yeah,
okay.
You're good. I had Brian. I had a cataract lens.
Oh, that's right.
4 hours ago.
I saw you pointing at 4 hours ago.
4 hours ago. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. So I'm blind in my right eye. I cannot see. So.
Brian, I wanted to go back and bring up toxic differential. I'm trying to share this screen. I think you can put it on.
And I had a point on the pressure with Mahomes as well. If you're ready with your point, go with it.
Oh, go ahead, and then we'll talk about it.
I'll stall. Give you a minute to pull that up there because I wanted to mention.
Well, no, you have to put it up because I can't.
Okay. I'll switch right. Actually, I'll just pull it up now, but I'll still make the point. It's weird not.
Well, just as an example, there's only one place I found on Twitter that actually follows toxic differential, and they've been keeping track of it all year. And just to give you examples historically, the league leader in toxic differential since 2006 has made the Super Bowl 8 times with a, believe it or not, 2-6 record. The Seahawks 2013 team was a plus 67 toxic differential, and they won. The Eagles lost to Kansas City in 2022, although, again, that could be on the refs.
Wait, right there. Go scroll back up two paragraphs. On the other end of the of the scale, read that. What's that say?
Cleveland Browns finished the year at minus 101.
Oh.
Previous low mark goes back to the 2006 Jamarcus Russell Raiders at minus 94. Those Raiders were 2-14. Earned the top spot in the draft and took Jamarcus Russell. So what it factors in, I don't know if I can enlarge this or not, but what it factors in is explosive play differential. Okay, sack differential and turnover differential. So when you look at like our favorite teams, the Browns had a minus 44 turnover differential. You gave up 44 more turnovers than you got. God. Sack differential was minus 25. Explosive play differential, you were minus 32. And that explains, look at the top 2 teams, the bottom 2 teams in this overall rating for toxic differential, the Titans and the Browns, who have the first 2 picks in the draft, Titans and the Browns. On the positive side, interestingly, the Eagles are only 5th, and the Chiefs are right in the middle of the pack. And, our Seahawks are there. The Seahawks are like minus 9. Yeah, they're about 20th. So
they were minus 6 this year, Mike, in turnover ratio.
Yeah, minus 6 in turnover ratio. There we go.
And by the way, for context, I pulled it up to just make sure we're defining it properly because I'm not super familiar with the term. But so it says in football, explosive play differential is a statistic that compares a team's explosive plays gained to those lost. It's used to evaluate a team's offensive production and ability to create and prevent explosive plays and how it's calculated.
Right.
Explosive play differential is calculated by subtracting the number of explosive plays a team gave up from the number of explosive plays that they gained. Explosive plays are defined as runs of 15 or more yards in passes of 20 or more yards. Yeah. Adjusted explosive plays take into account the value of different types of explosive plays, such as touchdowns, 40-yard plays, and 60-yard plays.
Right.
So, I mean, it's a new stat, but it's an interesting one.
Well, it's not really new. It's been there for 25 years or so, but it's really interesting. The sack differential charts, they chart it in different ways. And this is the account. This is Bears. Yeah. What's the name of the account? Chicago Bears tickets. is the account, and they're the only ones publishing this that I've seen this year. So if you want
Oh,
to track
wow.
it next year, I'd say get in there and check it out. So
Well, hopefully our team will be better and it won't
yeah,
terrify me every
exactly.
time.
But it is something to watch because it tells you a little bit about your football team. The interesting thing about it is the Chiefs were kind of in the middle of the pack, which I think argues that they shouldn't really have been in the Super Bowl. I think there had to be some other reason why they got to the big game, and we all kind of have discussed what that is. And
What did we think? What did we think about
they should have lost this year?
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, I mean, the MVP was Josh Allen. They went up against him in the AFC title game. It was very close. I thought the Bills were a better team. Just by looking at the eye test, they look like a better team.
Well, had the game been properly officiated, would the Bills have won it? Pretty good chance. 60%, I'd say, on that one. So, yeah.
Yeah, that is possible.
I think there's at least one other NFC team that had gotten in the Super Bowl. I think they would have cleaned the Chiefs' clock also, and that's Detroit.
Yeah.
Detroit losing was a surprise.
But
yeah, I think they would have handled the Chiefs quite well on Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah, I would have liked to see the Eagles play the Lions or the Eagles to play the Buccaneers. Like I would have liked to see some of that.
Oh, the Lions' offense against the Eagles' defense would have been an exciting matchup for sure.
Oh, it would have. I was obviously rooting for the Bills versus the Lions. I want a new franchise to celebrate.
Yeah, me too.
And burn some stuff in the streets. Back to your point
can't be
about
my team. Let it be some city that's never had it before, as long as it's not Phoenix.
Yeah,
anything but Phoenix.
Anybody in the NFC West, as long as it's not.
No, I don't understand this desire to constantly push these dynasties like we give a shit. Like you get really tired of seeing the Yankees and the Dodgers in every World Series. It gets very old to everybody else. I mean, if they're having their own little party and they're loving it, that's fine. But the rest of us are really annoyed by it.
Yeah.
The point about the pressure with Patrick Mahomes, I've always thought Patrick Mahomes was overrated. He's very talented. I'm not saying he's a bum. But dude gets very lucky with the spinning, running left to right, chucking it across his body 45 yards downfield. Like, oh, here's another one. But I watched that play when Mahomes was in his end zone and went off to his side. I think number 19 on the Eagles came in the defensive end. It pushed the pocket. It kind of took him out at the hip and he threw it. But as he threw it, he lost his center of balance and it led to that interception right there. I saw a stat that said CJ Stroud this whole season had worse quarterback protection. If you looked at the metrics and you know, the pressure rate and however they grade those things out, CJ Stroud had a worse season than this one game of Mahomes, and he had better stats throughout the whole season.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
oh, CJ falling off, or he's not that good. He's overrated. The pressure can get to anybody. That's the name of the game. And the Eagles, the other point I was going to make there is that the Eagles did it in the Super Bowl without blitzing. They were getting success with their front four. They didn't even need to pull in their safeties or their linebackers.
Yeah, that definitely was true. Definitely was true.
And so I don't know. I mean, it looked like most of the solid athletes, they were all on the Eagles side. The Chiefs looked undersized and slow.
They say defense wins championships. Okay, the Eagles put up 40 points. Could have put up 43, maybe even 50 if Hurts doesn't throw that pick and that ref doesn't call that OPI.
Would have been 14 more.
So, you know, and the defense scored 7 points and the rest of it was all the Eagles offense. So you say anything you want. It's elite quarterbacks that win Super Bowls and Hurts played elite in that game. No way around it. He was fabulous.
And then any other final thoughts on the game itself, Jim?
Yeah.
Any stats that jumped out at you surprising, or did you place any bets, win any bets?
Well, I laid $111 on the Chiefs on the money line, so I ate that. I mean, I had the game wrong.
Yeah.
And the predominant trend was the trend that I got from my wise guy buddy in Rhode Island, Ray Algasso, and that was the last trend that we had, the last program that we did in the Super Bowl since 2003. Teams that had a first round bye in the playoffs versus a team that did not have a bye were 0-9 against the spread. Well, that stat is now 0-10 against the spread.
So that means rust is more prevalent than rest helping you. Rust hurts you more than rest.
And it's not always that stat does not always apply to Andy Reid, because Andy Reid is now 30-6 straight up after a bye week. And that extra week also counts as a bye week statistically when you're handicapping football games. But also, along with that 0-10 against the spread, it is now 1-9 straight up as far as winning or losing the game. So the bet on that would either be the side bet, either giving or laying the points, or if you like the money line. So it's something to remember next year for the Super Bowl. If the team that has the bye week prior to the Super Bowl and they win the next two playoff games, meaning the divisional round and so on, and they make it to the Super Bowl, if they had the bye week, they should be a huge dog in the game.
The bye week hurts. Any guess why, Mike and Jim? Why would a bye week be detrimental? And now sometimes there's damn lies in statistics. Right. Sometimes you can find anomalies anywhere if you parse the data, but maybe there's a reason. And what does it? For what reason?
2003, the only game that actually beat that cycle was the Steeler and Cardinal Super Bowl, where I believe Kurt Warner was the quarterback for the Cardinals.
Yeah.
And
that toe-tapping touchdown, great play. I hate the Steelers, though, obviously, but great touchdown.
And, the Steelers ended up winning that game.
Yeah, they did.
Left the Cardinals as one of the 12 teams never to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah. When we hope that trend continues for the next 1,000 years. So yeah, I don't know what to make of that, Brian. I mean, it doesn't make sense because usually at the end of the season, rest and health are very important. You usually prioritize that, but that's a shocking stat to me in some ways. But
kind of rest. It's kind of rest versus complacency, I guess.
And I mean, the thing is, when you have a 2-week break before the Super Bowl anyway, everybody should be recouped by then, having a bye week. So I don't, I want to say it's a coincidence, but it doesn't seem like it. If it's,
and I'll add something to my favorite team, the Deshaun Watson Cleveland Browns this year. They weren't really running Deshaun out to play in the preseason. He had been injured. And they wanted to protect him so much that they didn't give him the reps that he needed. And it came out after the season that the coach was too scared to reprimand him in practice or during the film study session. But like when Jameis came in, he tore into Jameis. Like they've treated Deshaun with kid gloves when he needed to get the repetitions. He didn't understand the playbook. He needed those extra reps under his belt, and he needed to watch the game film and get coached. But we didn't do that, and that obviously hurt us. It's like you don't want to see an injury in preseason because then everyone will go, oh, you dummies, you shouldn't have played him. He was injured last year. It's your fault. The whole season, you should get fired for that. Like they were terrified of getting that critique, but then the player wasn't ready, and the whole season suffered because of it. So, yeah, I guess rest is not a good thing. I'm intrigued by that, rest versus rust. All right, I guess the only other point I had to ask you guys about was the pomp and circumstance of the entire show. That would be commercials. Were there any great commercials or shitty commercials? And halftime show, Kendrick Lamar. To you, gentlemen.
If I recall, Jim, we were eating Regina's amazing pizza during the halftime show.
Pineapple and ham.
Yeah, there was a lot of muting of the 85-inch big screen.
I didn't watch the halftime show. I'm not. No, I don't. Rap is not. I'd rather poke needles in my eyes than listen to rap or hip hop. So no.
Well, it's like Mike said.
Background. I just lament that the great Super Bowl halftime shows of the past. And look, here's the reality: when you go with all rock acts, you're driving away some of the younger audience. When you go with all rap and hip hop, which they've done for the last 10 fucking years, you're driving away the older audience. So let's balance it out. Let's go back. Let's bring Kiss out of retirement for next year.
Well, what was the last Super Bowl?
Blow some shit up in the middle of.
What was the last Super Bowl where they actually had a classic rock band? It was Pete Townsend and Roger Daltrey, was it not?
Probably. And
with Zach Starkey on drums, Ringo.
Yeah, and I mean, they just need to bring that back and alternate that.
You know what? Billy Idol needs to do a Super Bowl halftime. That's Billy Idol actually got nominated for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Brian, in your backyard, Cleveland.
Yeah.
He's not in the Hall of Fame.
I personally would go for Kiss or Cheap Trick or
in the midnight hour. She cried, "Mo, mo, mo."
Mo, mo, mo. Yeah.
Right.
No, Billy Idol should be in the Hall of Fame. Grand Funk Railroad should be in the Hall of Fame. There's a laundry list of bands that should be in the Hall of Fame.
Grand Funk Railroad's not in the Hall of Fame?
No, they're not.
You could do a rock oldies thing too. You could bring up Cheap Trick. You could bring up Billy Idol. They could actually both play. You could go from stage to stage for 18 minutes.
Do you know Chubby Checker is not in the Hall of Fame? He's a nominee this year.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
Unbelievable. 1957, Chubby Checker. He's not in the Hall of Fame. Joe Cocker is not in the Hall of Fame. Of course, that's posthumous.
It took Kiss 28 years to get in there, which is ridiculous.
Unbelievable.
One of the most influential bands in the world,
Bad Company. Not a big fan. They're not in the Hall of Fame.
No.
By the way, to answer your question, we did touch on it last time, but I'll move quickly through them. You're saying, when's the last time we had a classic rock? So Kendrick Lamar this year, Usher last year. Before that was Rihanna. Before that was Dre, Snoop, Eminem, Mary J. Blige. Before that was The Weeknd. Before that was Shakira and Jennifer Lopez. Before that was Maroon 5, their current contemporary pop rock-ish. Justin Timberlake before that. That's pop. Before that, Lady Gaga. I'm moving backward. Coldplay was 2016 at Levi's. That's a pop rock band. Katy Perry before that. Bruno Mars before that. Beyonce before that. I'm still trying to find one that qualifies. Madonna in 2012. Black Eyed Peas in 2011. Okay, we got to go back to 2010. Miami Gardens, Florida, Sun Life Stadium. The Who.
Yeah.
The Who. Yeah.
So, the thing is that there's so many acts that could do the show, that should be invited to do the show, and I don't mind mixing things up a little bit.
Yeah, but here's the problem. We're having this run of nothing but hip hop and nothing but, by the way, right before The Who, Bruce Springsteen, then Tom Petty, then Prince, then the Rolling Stones, then Paul McCartney. So and then the Janet Jackson, Justin Timberlake wardrobe malfunction. So it's they'll do 6 in a row of one genre. They really need to mix them up a little bit, I think.
Mm-hmm.
You get fatigued of the same thing.
You want to see somebody who's big and who's important and has a history and a great back catalog. Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
So I didn't pay any attention. We ate pizza. Mine did not have any pineapple on it, which is far more masculine than pineapple on it. But didn't watch it, so can't comment on it. What was the other thing?
The commercials. Did any commercials stand out as good or bad? Did you not notice them?
I thought they sucked. I didn't really focus on them, but there was nothing I'd like, oh my God, that's so funny. And just nothing. So maybe pop culture has passed me by, but none of them caught my eye as being particularly
Who started the rumor that Elon Musk spent $40 million to run 5 commercials during the Super Bowl? And
I heard $30 million for 4. It was about 7.5 per commercial. I'm like, we're gonna have Doge commercials. Oh my God, I'm so excited, and it never happened. I go, I got bamboozled. I was hoodwinked. What happened? Where did that rumor come from, and why did I believe it?
The game's a blowout, but I'm going to sit and wait and watch the Musk commercials.
Right. And it's interesting because now reports came out today that the NFL actually canceled his commercials.
Regina had read something this morning, Mike, that somebody at the NFL home office had made the decision to pull the commercials at the last minute. That's what she had read.
How do we confirm or deny that rumor?
Musk hasn't said a word about it, so I don't.
Someone in the press corps needs to ask him. It is daily Doge briefing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I had no idea. Okay, the plot thickens. Someone needs to ask him. I don't know if we know a White House press correspondent or not, but we gotta. I put in for press credentials, by the way. I'll let you know if I get approved.
Right. Well, the thing is, what if that was just a ploy to get more people to watch and more people to stay tuned during the commercials? What if it's kind of like the NASA are the ones, believe it or not, and I can go into this, but I'm not going to on this show. NASA are the ones who started the rumor that the moon landings were faked. They are the ones who perpetrated that rumor. Just like maybe the NFL put the rumor out that there were going to be Doge commercials to get everybody to watch and to boost their ratings up.
Is that why Buzz Aldrin always goes on those talk shows like Conan O'Brien, or he'll do interviews and he'll like allude to the fact that we never went there, and
those
he'll
are all out of context quotes. Like David Letterman says, we watched you land on the moon, and he says, no, you didn't. Yeah, well, what he means is, no, there was no live television transmission while we were descending to the moon. So, that it's that kind of thing. So, yeah. But anyway.
And he punched the guy that gave him grief, like, oh, you didn't walk on the moon. He popped him in the face.
He politely asked the guy to leave him alone for about 15 minutes before he gave him a knuckle sandwich. And he didn't hit him until the guy called him a coward. Now, if you went to the fucking moon, okay,
you can be a lot of things, but not a coward.
In that tin can, and by the way, the only reason they got back is because he had a ballpoint pen in his pocket, because somehow they had broken off the arming switch that armed the ascent stage engine, and it was only the fact that he plugged the pen in there to throw the switch to arm the ascent stage engine that they got off the moon, because they had nothing else on that ship that they could have stuck in there to throw that switch. Wow. Okay, so call me a coward after that. I'm gonna punch you in the face.
Yeah, that's some MacGyver shit, Mike.
I'll defend Buzz.
I returned home with chewing gum and a paper clip.
Chewing gum and a juicy fruit wrapper.
Yeah,
Buzz carries the pen with him at all times. Somehow, in that cramped little space, one of their backpacks busted off. The one switch couldn't be the switch that, drained the urine packs or something. No, it was the switch that activated the ascent stage engine. So,
one of the important ones. No, I would say for commercials, there was a Dunkin' one early with Ben Affleck and like a million other cameos. It was way too much going on in a 30-second spot. I couldn't even keep up. It was way too much thought put into it.
McConaughey one, the Bears, Matthew McConaughey.
I like the McConaughey Bears one. It was okay. I liked that. They've been kind of promoting that. They were advertising the upcoming advertisement for a few weeks. So you saw him dressed like Dicka. And
well, remember the glory days where they recreate the ending of Castaway, where he delivers her the FedEx box and he goes, I gotta know what's in it. And she goes, oh, not much, just a water filter, some seeds, and a satellite phone. That was classic.
Yeah, I would love to do like a top 10 list and go back and find some of the best commercials of all time. Unfortunately, the one that mainly sticks with me, because I'm a Browns fan and a LeBron, I appreciate the championship. I think he's the greatest of all time, but he's a super douche. But there was a Nike commercial that had Myles Garrett, and he was wearing these dorky glasses. It was in like a high school setting from the 50s or something. Mm-hmm. And it was a Nike advertisement. So Myles Garrett's teaming up. He's calling LeBron, trying to get advice on how to leave Cleveland, because LeBron's so good at doing that. They're both Nike athletes. Then on the Super Bowl, they run this commercial. This white guy football player going down, and he's trying to be a bully to Myles Garrett. He's the nerdy guy like Urkel. He's got his glasses taped together. Oh, don't, I'm just whatever. And the young woman of color saves the day against the evil white man. Nike commercial. And I'm like, oh, this combines about 10 things that I just want to go bonkers about. I want to rail about this forever. But that's what Nike is, and that's what they do. They demonize white people. They everybody else is the superheroes, and it's just pull your athletes out of your mid-level markets and drive them into the big markets. That commercial rubbed me the wrong way. I had a couple of my friends be like, you need to calm down. It's not that bad. I go, it was way worse it's way worse.
Yeah, to even go way back, there was all kinds of pressure to get Kareem Abdul-Jabbar out of Milwaukee and to LA. There was so much pressure. And so, they want to, and they want to get these guys, in these big markets.
Yeah, it was like for like ladies flag football or something, but it was like, of course, the white guy has to be the evil character in this, and Miles, the traitor, he's
in reality, the big white guy would have squatched her she'd be a grease spot on the field by the time,
But it's the Nike agenda that they're pushing, which is why I don't like Nike, why I don't like LeBron, his antics, his game. I think he's the greatest of all time. But so that was the one that stood out to me as annoying, because Miles is just this week, he's doing a Super Bowl tour. So it going to everyone that'll listen. Yeah, I've demanded a trade. I want out of Cleveland. I'm going to be gone. It's like, you're under contract for 2 years, pal. Like, we don't have to send you anywhere. But anyway, that was the only commercial that really grabbed me for those obvious reasons. But I think you're right. I think the level of commercials has fallen off. They did have Shane Gillis, the Bud Light one, Post Malone and Shane Gillis. It was kind of funny. He's like, I already got the HOA breathing down my neck as it is. And I'm like, oh God, I can relate to that. That was kind of funny. Bud Light used to be funny commercials before they took on interesting agendas, but
Dylan Mulvaney before those days.
That whole thing. Yeah, they're desperately trying to come back from that. Interestingly, though enough, they've never apologized. So that's another component. All right. So that kind of sums up the Super Bowl. Were there any odds and ends other from John Rocker almost fighting Pat Mahomes' dad to interesting commercials or halftime performances and referees and anything else we didn't discuss?
Glad the Eagles won. I'm glad the Chiefs didn't win. Congratulations to the Eagles. My buddy Tony Bruno got another one for his team, but it just ends up frustrating me because the Seahawks should have had a 10-year run like this where they made 2 or 3 Super Bowls. They only made 2. They threw one away and never recovered from it. And fuck you, Pete Carroll.
Is Tony back doing his podcast, Mike?
He is. Tony Bruno does a Friday night show now and still is incredibly talented.
He's a sports guy, right? I think I know his name.
Yeah, he basically started sports talk radio in a sense. On ESPN in the late 90s. He really made it take off. So yeah.
Real funny guy.
Well, maybe Mike, you should offer him an open invite to come in and talk some football one of these days for another episode.
I would do that. He probably would. He had me on his podcast from the Super Bowl last year.
Tony,
I saw you posting those memories for me. I'm like, are you there right now doing that? I'm like, I didn't know.
No, that was last year, but it was great. It was great.
Tony and Miss Robin.
Tony and Miss Robin Austin.
Nice. Well, I guess are there any free agent storylines you're following? I'm thinking maybe we should, when free agency hits, we should jump in and do one when some things settle down.
I think free agent weekend, Brian, is a great time when free agency opens.
Do we know when that is?
It's I think first week in March or first weekend in March it starts.
It says free agency NFL. Hang on.
I'll ask Brock if you want me.
I got a notification about an hour ago. It says Brett Veach from the
March 12th.
Brett Veach from the Chiefs signed Darius Rush, cornerback from the Steelers, and also backup quarterback Chris Oladuncan.
Yeah, those are just 90-man roster fill-outs, though. So, yeah, I think we should do a free agency show and a show before the draft. And, I mean, the big story now is where does Aaron Rodgers end up? Because he obviously wants to play or he would have retired. And
how about Cleveland and how about Miles resigns with Aaron Rodgers and we draft Shitter Sanders? So you have a veteran and you have a youngster. And you bring Miles back, and we turn the team. We were a playoff team.
Aaron's not gonna. We can all dream, but Aaron's not gonna go for that because if they're gonna spend that first pick on a really good football player, he might think about it. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see where he ends up. He's gonna want to play for a serious contender. The Jets were not serious contenders. The coaching situation was a mess. And you can say anything you want about Aaron Rodgers. He's washed. He needs to retire. All this stuff. Oh, he's not mobile anymore. Well, he's a 43-year-old man coming off a Achilles injury, and Achilles injuries always take 2 years to get all your mobility back. So he'll probably be better next year. But the guy had 3,800 yards, 28 touchdowns, only 11 interceptions last year on a shit team with a shit coach and an organization that's a mess. So that's a guy to watch. Where does he go? Because where he goes, they instantly become relevant. Because I think he's still got some football left.
I think he does too. I think he's worth signing maybe a 1 and a player option, 1+1. So here's a couple names to keep your eyes on. Cooper Kupp. It sounds like he's out with the Rams. T. Higgins, wide receiver, Bengals. Trey Smith, guard on the Chiefs. Sam Darnold, quarterback, Vikings.
Yeah, and there's talk that the Rams are going to trade Matthew Stafford. I think that's insane because they have a good team and another good draft or two, and they're right there. But that's the rumor going around.
They talk to Stafford. I guess they want Stafford to restructure his contract.
Well, let me check there.
Yeah.
Well, you check that. Chris Godwin, wide receiver, Buccaneers. Zach Baun, linebacker, Eagles. Khalil Mack, edge rusher, Chargers, even though he's 34. Nick Bolton, linebacker, Chiefs. Byron Murphy Jr., cornerback, Vikings. Josh Sweat, he was the number 19 that came in and pressured Mahomes that I was trying to remember his name. He
Josh
had
Sweat,
a really
yeah.
good Super Bowl
Yeah,
game.
he had a
Great
great
time
game.
to be a free agent. Shavarius Ward, cornerback 49ers. Milton Williams, defensive line Eagles. Osa Ognazuza, defensive tackle Cowboys. Ronnie Staley. Oh, Najee Harris is up. Russell Wilson is up.
Yep.
DJ Reed, Aaron Rodgers, Stephon Diggs, Javon Holland, Hassan Reddick, Justin Reed, Dre Greenlaw, Chase Young. Chase Young was on the Saints. How did that happen? Alaric Jackson, Drew Dahlman, blah, 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 blah. Mekhi Becton on the Eagles, and a bunch of Amari Cooper on the Bills and some others. But those are a quick list of some of the top names available.
Matt Stafford, just to let you guys know, Matt Stafford has an insane $49 million cap hit right now, and they could do a simple restructure, and just because he's got 2 years left, they could save another $12 million under the cap if they just did that. But an extension would save him even more. So who knows? Maybe they will play hardball with him. But that's a right thing there for the Rams to do something.
By the way, Mike, before we wrap today, did you have your screen? Because you did way better than I did. If you had yours available, I'd love to.
Well, where you finished 154 and 131, and Jim will tell you if you're actually betting games, you're going to come away with a few $100 on that one.
All right, I like that. Yeah, it was better than I started. I know that much. I started off like trash. It did not go well.
Yeah, and I ended up, if you can share it.
There we go.
Yeah, 190 and 95. Holy crap!
Put $5 on the money line on every game next year.
I think I will. Yeah,
betting football, Brian. It's not how you start; it's how you finish. So if you got good money management, you're going to make money.
And you got to listen to this guy here; he'll help you make that good money management.
No, and we've loved having you on this season. I guess season 1 is in the books. I guess. Wait, hold on. Is season 1 in the books all through preseason, and then the next season starts at game 1 or preseason game 1? Or does it end at the Super Bowl and now we're in second season? How do we determine when is the beginning and when is the end? Jim, what do you
right? It ends.
I think it officially starts with the draft.
With the draft,
and then the season starts. Yeah,
because I could see it ending at the Super Bowl, and now everything else is like this is now for the next fiscal year. We're all free agency and the draft. That's all about this upcoming season, which would make that episode 1. I don't know.
I don't know. Season 1 is just about over if it's not. It was great.
Yeah, it was a good time, and I appreciated definitely adding you to the mix, Jim, getting some of these betting tips. It's that thing about the bye week is still sticking with me.
That's
you really lose your rhythm, your focus, your inertia. You lose the inertia, I guess.
It doesn't make a lot of sense, but it look, a trend is a trend, and that's a freaking trend. Right?
When I first looked at that stat, I said that can't be right, and there was a little bit of research, and it is ever since 2003. I mean, that's the way it goes. And the over under, the over under for the last 6 Super Bowls was 1-4 and 1 tie.
Yeah,
and the over was way over. I mean, the over was over, pretty much at halftime.
Well, that's the thing is the only thing
the overs are good.
The only thing I thought about betting was the over, and I would have won it, so I should have bet it. But oh well.
Oh, you didn't bet anything. I thought you were.
No,
I thought you. Okay.
I didn't know what was going to happen because I didn't trust the referees.
I didn't trust the refs.
Biggest problem. I just told Jim. I said I want to bet, but I couldn't go with my instincts because I said, what if the refs just do their thing? But in retrospect, I should have.
Yeah.
But
anyway, all right, gentlemen. I think I've said all I have to say. Any final words from the both of you?
Nope.
Awesome. Then I think we've wrapped it up.
Your team next year.
What's that about next year?
Good luck to your team next year, whoever you are, not you.
No, I need that. I'm taking that. I'm grabbing that from the ether. I need that.
Unless you play the Seahawks.
Just remember, Brian, Jameis Winston is great TV.
Oh, he's incredible. He should still be our backup. He knows how to throw it. He'll throw it to the other team. But look, if he throws a 45-yard interception, that's like a punt. If he does that on 3rd and 10, I don't care.
He's a one-man toxic differential, James Winston. One-man toxic.
A one-man toxic differential. I like that. Okay, cool. Well, good luck to your team, Mike, by the way, and your team, Jim. No, I didn't mean you. I meant you, the viewer. Yes, but you as well. I mean, I hope we meet you. I hope the Browns play the Seahawks in the Super Bowl.
That'd be great. That would be great.
That would be one of like the best ever. God, we would be at each other. Would we be at each other's throats? Would we be nervous? Would we be excited? Like, what would that tension be like during game week? I wonder what
I don't know, but I'd like to have that experience.
I hope we can find out. All right. Well, let's wrap up today's show. Thank you, everybody, for watching Strictly Football. We will be back in about a month or so. Free agency starts March 12. We're on February 13. So we'll give it about a month. We'll stretch out, and we'll be back talking about the free agency wheelings and dealings. And Mike, where do people need to follow you and subscribe one more time?
Seahawk Boys TV on YouTube, Seahawk Boys TV on Rumble, and Seahawk Boy Mike B on Twitter X. So follow me there for the football stuff. I try to keep that strictly football. As somebody,
I try as well to keep Strictly Football and the Unhappy Hour mostly sports related, and just do the other stuff on the New American Media. So yes, please follow the New American Media on Rumble, YouTube, and on X and all the places. But the Unhappy Hour Sports Show, find us in all of the other locations, the podcasts and the YouTube and the Rumble. We have all those. And we'll be back in about a month, like I said, for free agency time. On behalf of Jim Mitchell, Mike Bara, and everybody out there in the TNAM universe, I appreciate you. I love you.